part of what I'm getting to today has to do with the importance of us becoming more awake, more conscious and awake. And I really, really, truly believe this. I've always felt that desire, that love for deepening things. Because you could sort of generalize the categories of humans. There's sleeping, forgive them, they know not what they do, is like saying they're just asleep. They know not what they do. If somebody's having a bad dream, you wouldn't curse them for it, even if they're writhing and crying and saying rude things in their sleep. If they're having a nightmare, they're just having a nightmare. And think about the metaphor, because almost anybody on earth, if they saw somebody having a nightmare, you'd be compelled to wake them up. That's all. And you would usually do so gently. So if you just applied that one thing only, people are asleep. Forgive them, they know not what they do. There's another group called waking and another called awake. I wouldn't say, I'm one of the awake ones. I wouldn't jump to that right away. I would just, at best, say I'm awakening. That's a good way to go. I don't need to boast or assume or hope that I'm completely awake. I don't need to do that. Waking is enough. To be on planet Earth and being somebody who's awakening is a really great thing. And we all have moments where we're, oops. It's like saying I was asleep for a moment. You saw somebody do something that got you mad, you reacted or whatever. In that moment, you actually fell asleep. Because if you're awakening or awake, you would know whatever they said has no ability to harm you. So you wouldn't be irritated by it. It would have no effect. It'd be like, well that was just wow, that was weird. I almost fell asleep. And you can fall asleep when you're awake. You do fall asleep when you're awake spiritually, but you can even fall asleep when you're awake as a human being. There's times when, I just, working and so forth in the middle of the night, and sometimes it's so late or I've been up for so many hours that I actually start dreaming while I'm typing notes for a book or something. I actually start going, into dream, and if anybody happens to be around, poor things, because God knows the kinds of things I start mumbling. And they'll say, what? And I'm just like, the eagle is now flying in one ear and out my crown. And, and they're like, what? And I sometimes go, yeah, I was typing something about an eagle. Because I'll wake myself up and realize, oops, But it's true. We are capable of being awake or asleep at the same time here in this planet. Even though we're walking around looking awake, you can be asleep. You can be awake when you're sleeping. Because I'm talking about spiritually awake or asleep. When people walk around, they go, yeah, I had a dream last night and I slept, but right now I'm awake. You're actually dreaming that you're awake. How do we know that? Right in here. If there's a feeling of fear, if there's a feeling of you're better than or lesser than anyone else, if you're capable of seeing anyone else as being lesser or better than you or each other, it's all dreaming. Anytime we're judging, we have fallen asleep. Anytime we're judging, we have bitten from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, also known as the tree of judgment, and that's the tree of death. That's it. You can think you're waking up, but, and claim to be a certain religion. But if that religion endorses judgment and hate, you're actually asleep. Having a dream that you're in a religion where you are safely better than everyone else. But that's not actually the word dream would not be appropriate. It's called a nightmare. Anything that has to do with separation is actually more of a nightmare. And you can't easily get away with using that term because most people make it too, you can't tell me I'm having nightmares. Because it sounds too harsh for them in terms of reality. But it's true. If it's not love, then it can't be a healthy dream, a happy dream. You can't say you're awake if you're not experiencing love. So, who are we? How do I wake up? It involves remembering who we are. But who are we? And there's my name, there's my ID you have in a wallet or whatever. That's not who you are. Then you go deeper. You go, okay, well, who I am. Well, I'm a complex being. I'm a male or I'm a female. I'm this race, that race. Still, not who you are. You're giving layers. When people say, who are you? You're giving layers of a false identity. And then it goes deeper and deeper. You can go, well, get more metaphysical. Oh, I'm a person and I have addictions that I'm working on, and then I have an inner child. Still not who you are. And you go further and you go further. Well, past lives, and even past lives are not who you are, but what you're describing. Everything I just named. Ask who I am. Everything I just named is in the past.
That's right.
If it's not in the past, then it's not who I am. It's what I have been, which is not far from a has been. All of my past is not in the present, no matter how much of it there was. Oh, my past is better than your past. Because my past, I lived 3,000 times and you only lived 30. That just means you're even more of a has-been than the other person. I mean, think about it. It's all that I have been. Now, we can agree with that, right? We can kind of get on board with that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Then you also have to get on board with, you're also no longer the abused person. You're no longer the ex of so-and-so. If you're going to let go of identities, you got to let them go. You can't go, I'm going to let go of 3% of my identities. Because you're still affirming they're there. And we struggle with this. I mean, there's this constant attempt, even biologically. Old cells try to fall away so we can create new cells. But in the DNA and in the RNA of our body, we just keep trying to replicate the ones that were there. Who's doing that? That isn't God, believe it or not. People go, God's magnificent. Look at the complexities of the universe. Look at nature. And Jesus in A Course in Miracles would say, really? Let's do that. So what was that again? Oh, God is magnificent. Look at nature. And Jesus in A Course in Miracles would say, really? Then how come that thing is dying? Because God cannot die. How come that animal is killing the other animal? Because that doesn't happen in God. And we actually project that onto God. Well, God's so beautiful that it's the natural nature of life. It's the cycles, God is magnificent. So God will take the life of that animal, from that animal, killing it, and then that animal will eventually go into the dust and die, and it'll bring us more earth, and then the earth will... And this sounds really, really logical. And you could even go, God, that is kind of incredible. But God would say, all that is your attempt to blame me that things die. And you're trying to dress it up as, and it'll give life to another thing. Another thing that'll just die again. I do not die, and I am only love. I am only love. And it's hard for human beings to understand that. To just go into the beingness of God. Doing is not of God. As soon as we do things like try to make nature, that's a reflection of God. What about these cells? Why are cells falling away? Because God is the hope that will create better ones. God is not the cell that dies and falls away. God is not the past. God is the calling of the new life. But you can't get attached to the new life because even that's still just a step. Keep going. Keep going, keep growing, keep opening consciousness. Don't stop. Don't go, well, as soon as I reach this dimension, I'm going to be done. No. Home is home. There's no dimension in home, in God, in heaven. And that doesn't mean you should work too hard to get there. But just the recognition, this is not my home. Even my cells tell me that. They're going, I'm out of here, and gone. The cells just drop away. And they constantly rejuvenate. But the rejuvenation itself is still not the end. It's only concealing. Beneath it is life waiting to happen. And the closest we get in this world is awakening, which is a process. In this world, I am awakening. I don't get attached to the cells that used to be there that want to fall off. I don't get attached to the new cells that come on, because the more I own God's consciousness, the more I become light. And eventually there are no cells. I become light, and I become light, and I become light till I am only consciousness. Not even a measurable form of light. That's the new us waiting to happen. this new consciousness. And it isn't eventually, it's right here for us all the time. Judging kills that new consciousness. And while we have a judgmental consciousness, any of us and collectively us, then the world's going to reflect that. So that's why the new world, not the new world order, the new world is one where the lion lies with the lamb. They don't actually have to kill each other to get by, to survive. So those who say, well, you know there's God because of nature, and they rely on something killing something else to prove that there's a God, one day we will get over that need. We will get over that belief. We'll go, no, you know what's actually amazing? Instead of the cycles of life, and this animal eats this animal, and this one, and so on and so on, and call that God, one day people are going to go, I realize what really is amazing when none of them kill each other. There isn't a this and a that. There's no survival of the fittest. There's no stronger beast defeats lesser beast and so on. All that disappears from our mind. Then there's no competition. There's no, I have to make up for something, one thing or another, and we just keep realizing who we really are. So, you know, some people will say, well, we have to honor our scars of the past. You actually cannot. If you try to honor your hurts from the past, and I get that, I do believe in that, but I'll get to that in a sec. But if all you do is ignorantly honor the wounds of the past, stored in the cells, stored in the organs, stored in the mind, stored in the soul, if you say, I'm going to honor the past, but you haven't reconnected with spirit to a decent capacity, you're not capable of honoring the past. Because if you try as a human to honor the past, what you're going to do is keep the past alive. Because you won't know how to honor it and hold your center. Every time you're going to try to honor it, it's going to drag you back to it. And then you will be the pain in those cells or organs or whatever they happen to be. So a new consciousness, I need a new consciousness to keep me safe, and that's the key word. If I can connect to God, then I'm connected to safety, then I'm capable of working on those scars or knowing what it means to honor those scars. Me as a human being who identifies with my past, I'm not healthy enough to go do that work. Look at how medicine works in the sense that surgeries, if you have like pneumonia, they're not going to do surgery on you. They're wise enough to know that if you're wounded enough or hurt enough or weak enough, they shouldn't be doing that. And it's the same thing spiritually. So we need to reconnect with the source of everything. We have to create a relationship with God in whatever way we can so that we're connected, and then we can reach out and do the working of our lives. If we don't have connection, everything is doing and it's compensatory. I'm disconnected, now I have to do to make up for what I'm not being. I'm going to do another relationship to make up for the ones that didn't go well. Go ahead and tell the new partner that and see how they respond. And if they like that, they're sick. So I would end the relationship anyway. But chances are they're not going to be real excited to say, really? And so let me know all the details of that. What are we doing again? All your past things that haven't worked out, you're going to project onto me, and you're going to need me to make them all better. The odds of that are not even, it's not even there. There's not even a decent odd at all to that. Because the projection is doom already. So I need to connect to healthiness and then look at new relationship. Connect to healthiness and then look at how to do things differently at work or in business or prosperity. People go, I'm going to connect with prosperity consciousness. Well, have you connected with God, the source of abundance, and let it teach you how to be prosperous? Or are you going to come from the wounded past of lack and say, I'm going to make myself more prosperous? Because that's still the doing yet again. Very, very hard for people to understand these things because it seems so tasty when someone wants to sell you on something. When they want to sell you on a new prosperity program or a new health program. All these things seem tasty because they seem like quick fixes. I need to connect with God. I need to connect with Spirit and let God guide me to the right this and the right that. And it does work. It's very practical. But our consciousness has gotten so messed up, it seems like we don't know how to do this anymore. We don't know how, like the people of Israel, we don't know how to connect and get guidance. The story of the people of Israel wandering through the wilderness, and the description of this cloud hovering above them, guiding them in the right direction, or the wise men going to Jesus' birth, following this star in the sky. That's tremendous stuff if you think about it, but that's you and me. That was called the Holy Shekinah. That's the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, guiding the Israelites on which direction would be right for them and safe for them. We actually have forgotten that we can be guided on that much of a practical level. The dollar bill or the Great Seal of the United States, you'll see a symbol of a cloud hovering up in the sky up above on the seal, or whatever. And that's why they put that on there, because they were honoring the Israelites being guided, and they were trying to say, we want this country to be guided. But people have forgotten how to do that. There actually have been presidents who asked for guidance, who said, I don't know what to do. I'm a president, and I don't know what to do. God, help me, and got guidance. It does happen, and it can happen. But you can be the head of a household. You can be the head of your life and ask for that guidance. Being conscious and awake is not an arrogant statement. Look at me, I'm awake, you're asleep. That's why I said it's better to say I'm awakening. Because, it allows me to not be too hard on myself when I slip. After all, I'm just awakening. If I say I'm completely awake and I slip, what am I going to do with that? If I'm completely awake, I wouldn't slip at all. So I allow that. It's a great saying, from the Tao Te Ching, I'm just paraphrasing slightly, but those who know others is very wise. Those of us who know people and nature and human nature, and those of us who look at nature and describe life by using nature, those who know others is very wise. Those who know themselves are enlightened, because that's a whole nother level. In fact, we make ourselves experts at knowing others so that we don't have to know ourselves. So, this is all about this concept of I'm waking up, I'm getting it. And as the more I wake up, I realize all my past is passing away. It is past anyway, but it's passing away. I'm not saying you deny that you've had lifetimes, because in the illusion of this universe, it'll seem like you have, and that's fine. Technically, they all happened at the same time. We're just tapping into a holographic game. We put on a headset and we're watching this lifetime. But all of them happened at the same time. All in one tiny instant. All history, everything, all time, all dimensionalities, every bit of consciousness, every being of every dimension, everything, all actually happened in one tiny instant. And in that instant, because our minds are so incredibly powerful, we think, wow, I manifested a 25-cent an hour raise. You think that's something. You created the entire universe. We all collectively created the entire universe, and we think we get all proud, when some little tiny thing goes better in our lives. We're so scared, and people will say we're afraid of our power. You have no idea how terrified people are. Not only how afraid we are, terrified. And not just of our power, but our incredible power. Because if we ultimately would own that we're this powerful, we would then have to own we co-created this universe that we see. The one that has time, space, and limitation. Because it wasn't God. If we start to wake up, we're going to start going, wow, I'm awakening. Oh crap, who did this? Oh, it was me. I want to go to sleep again. Nobody wants to stay completely awake, because it takes brutal courage to say, well, okay, I'm going to keep waking. Oh, this is kind of scary, but okay. Yep, I was part of this. Before I was like, it was probably them. No, I was part of this. Yeah, I don't like racism, and I don't like sexism, and I, on some level, co-created it. Our belief that we are separate from God is something that creates, like energy is pulled. Fear-based energy is pulled from our energy systems and used to manufacture this world, believe it or not. A simple metaphor would be some people think that when they shut their computers off at night, their computer's off. Your computers are actually never off. And it's not like giving you a conspiracy story. They're never off. All the computers are constantly online without you knowing it and being used on some level. When you pop up your little camera to do little snapshots or whatever they call them, what do they call them? Selfies. Oh, yeah, that's, man. So people doing selfies, for the grandkids and whatever, those cameras don't shut off, even when you're not taking pictures. So that concept of computers are always on, when you don't even realize it, it's the same with our psyche. Our subconscious is always on, and it's always going to be used. If you're not in your power, which means connected to God, I don't mean I'm in my power because I'm creating a new life by myself through my power of mind and all this kind of stuff it's still ego-based. I'm talking, you have to be connected with God. If you're in God, you're good. Anytime we're not in God, which means anytime we're afraid, anytime we're judging, anytime we're reacting, and also, which is most of the time, subconsciously, we're always online. Now, there's this force out there, just like there's a force out there that uses your computers when you're not realizing they're being used. There's a force out there that uses your subconscious mind. See, this is just me, and I'm getting kind of tired, and I lay down and go to sleep. And if I do my prayers, and do my right thing, and I have my tea and whatever, I go to sleep, I'm all okay to go. Subconsciously, you're always on. So there is a power. It's known as the ego, but ego in this world can be felt as an evil. This power called the ego says, oh, look, they've gone to sleep. Yes, because it taps into your subconscious mind. And it says, do we have any fears in there? Any doubts, any judgments, any self-loathing, any self-doubts, any stuff at all. And of course they find it. It finds every file that has self-doubt. Does it remove them? No. That would do you a favor. All it does is take energy from them, enough to never make you wake up suspicious. It takes just enough, but it takes it from every human being. Every day, 24/7. It's drawing energy to pull the energy to create an unseen dark cloud around this planet that oppresses people. The dark cloud becomes depression in people, mental illness in people. It becomes stuff that we wake up and we go about our day and we go, why am I feeling so, whatever it happens to be? And you could say, well, it's the planet's this and it's the moon. You could say that. But why would that even be a darkened experience if you're in the light of God? So all these things start getting used by these forces. Your individual ego, our collective ego, and then the planetary version of ego/evil, and it wears us down. And it becomes hopelessness and it becomes despair. So people need a drink or they need a drug or they need something to kind of wake them up, stimulate them. Your favorite show. Whatever it is, something to get you to get by. And for a lot of coffee, for a lot of people, it's coffee every morning. I've never had coffee. And I'm not trying to be better than anyone else, but I will say this. I've always wondered, bewildered me, why do people need something to wake them up? Don't you wake up awake? I kind of have these naive questions in my head at times, like, that's so bizarre. Oh, I'm not awake yet. I'm only on my third coffee. And I just think, it's so strange to me. And I'm glad it never appealed to me. But the inside of me, what I felt was, I felt good enough already. You can feel already good enough. If you're on coffee and you have that morning thing to wake you up, if you like coffee, oh, fine. Maybe you could try tea, something that actually is biogenic, life-giving, as opposed to bioacidic, which is life-destroying. Maybe switch over. I know it's a big fad, and then they ramped it up to espresso and other things, and it's just speed. Everybody's just on speed. And then they crash, and then they need another one midday, and so on and so on and so on. It just never really made a lot of sense to me. And rather than preach like what drinks would be better, because it's everybody to each his own, but to be able to say, put all that stuff aside and everything on the outside reflects the inside. If I'm awake, what I eat and drink is going to reflect my being awake. I shouldn't need something to make me feel that. Now I know that we have bodies and hormones and things change, so you need a little supplement of this and that. But I don't think the world's anywhere even close to understanding what health really is. So I'm going to segue there for just a second. Because this world is trying to, I think it was Voltaire, and I can't quote him exactly, but I think it was Voltaire that said something along the lines of, doctors are prescribing medicines of which they know very little, for bodies of which they know even less, or for diseases they know even less, and then for bodies they know nothing about, something to that effect. It's a great sarcastic line. Because it's like, and Alexander the Great died, and one of his last words, I'm dying because of the help of too many physicians. And what I mean by that is not that some aren't sincere and trying. What I'm saying is, you are a spiritual being. You can't just keep treating the body. And all attempts to humanly intellectually understand the body can only fail. So what they do is they stand around going, what we think is you have this. And then you throw in an extra cough. Oh, you know what that's this instead. We have different medicines for that. But then the last medicines gave you this, so they have to fix that with some other thing. It's just guesswork. It really is. It's just guesswork. But we have to respect the illusion and take responsibility for our lives and even our bodies. I made a couple of big mistakes for myself in terms of health. And one of them was moving to the desert, and I never drink water. Which is why you guys will see me a lot of times. I'll sometimes choke while I'm talking. My throat will be dry, and you'll see me doing this a bit because I never drink water. And that's been a mistake. And sometimes when service is over, I have to go in the back and try to get some water because it's pretty horrendous, but I've been here many years. And my body started, a few years ago, started swelling up. I have like this, what's been now determined to be like 10 or 15 pounds of water. And I go, well, if I don't drink water, that should help. But actually, it started trying to store water to compensate for not drinking water. So we're not just talking about medicines and physicians. We're talking about even simple things of being in tune. But that's just something I've done. It's just something I've done and I have to work on. More water, it's a simple thing. And it's also self-love. So you have to take the time to drink the water. And then it's all of this ended up just messing up. Like my adrenals are just completely, shot from the life I lived, just always on the road and doing what I do. So this has all come to my attention now. And so after playing the game and going to, checking it out, because I tell everybody, be open-minded. So I go and I open-minded, check this and try this and try. And everybody's guesswork. You've got this and you need this and you try this procedure and try this and that. And none of it really helped. One guy I went to said, you need this particular thing, and whatever was in it causes ulcers. So whatever it was, I took like one or two of them and started feeling something was not right. So I went back to that place, and fortunately there was a different guy in that day. He said, don't listen to that guy, to the other doctor. He said, why would he give you something that burns a hole in your stomach? I'm like, exactly. He's awake or awakening. I'm like, this is so beautiful. Thank you. He goes, yeah, no, don't do that. And I said, okay. And I actually asked this. I had to ask. I said, now do you have anything for the hole it's burning in my stomach? He said, yeah, stop taking that. It'll take care of itself. A doctor telling you, I'm not going to give you anything. That's what caused this. Oh, cool. And that's what we have to get back to. Stop reacting and being so unconscious that other unconscious people are drawn to us and give us unconscious information and advice. Instead, awakening. Being conscious of ourselves enough, like for me to say, just always being dry, to know that I'm out of water. And so my body's trying to store water. And the adrenals, just dying and going, wow, and having an ache in here. And then having to deal with thinking it's always just a back issue, like, because I have a little bit of a back issue in one spot. And it's not just that. It's also related to other things. So be careful. We can always heal if we heal our minds. But the doctors aren't understanding, especially glands. Glands run your whole system. The glands are your connection to the spiritual world. Chakras are the doorways to spirit, to your body. Glands are the doorway from the chakras into the dense part of the body, the nervous system and so on. So there's chakras. That's all beautiful, but why do you have chakras? Everybody's like, oh, my chakras, and I went to a chakra healer. Your chakras connect you from spirit to body, but when it hits the body, it hits the glands. You have glands with every chakra. But do you think doctors are out there working on their understanding of chakras? Most of them aren't. But then how can you help me with my glands if you don't understand chakras? They don't. They're just guessing about biology. The world's going to keep changing, and there's a new biology that'll keep emerging. And even what they call new biology is not even close. It's not going to come close because you have to have consciousness to treat it. You have to have intuitive, connected doctors that are actually not doctors, they're called healers, that would understand energetically what's happening in your glands. The pituitary, the pineal they don't know anything about. Its connection to the thyroid, the thymus, etc. All this beautiful stuff. And we would enter a whole new age of understanding. That cannot happen without consciousness changing. So you and I, when I say, I'm talking about being conscious, I'm not just giving a spiritual speech and I'm not just giving a biology speech, I'm saying everything is connected. If you want better healing, you're going to more and more need intuitive healers, doctors. But you can't just go to the ones that claim to be intuitive who know nothing about the body. They just only do energetic work. The world's going to keep changing to where those two come together. Where they understand, where they can close their eyes and see that despite logic, here's what's happening. Like the logic of, you're dehydrated, so your body is storing water. Well, if I have too much water, I know the solution, stop drinking water. That's logic to one degree, but it's not rational. Not if you know how to read it, not if you know how to tune in. So there's this whole new understanding. As I wake up, I'm not going to just walk around like a mystic. Even my biology changes, my anatomy changes, everything changes. When people start to realize, it's like, where's that web of neurons and so forth? It's in the skull. Can you see it? No, but you can if you learn how. The pituitary, the pineal, they activate through spiritual awakening. And people go, isn't there a new thing you can take to make them wake up? Guys, without consciousness, it's not real. So we get the consciousness, something starts to happen. The even bones that look like they don't move start to move. The bones that are stuck in your skull, they start to pulse because the presence of God is at hand. Surely the Lord is in this place. That's what we start to, that's like a heralding, that's a prayer, a praise that starts to come from our soul when we start to truly wake up and become conscious. It's the skull. Without seeing it, it starts to pulse. And you still, on the little lines, the suture lines, light starts to emerge and beam through them. Pineal, pituitary, they start to activate. And they shout down to the other glands of the body, hey, something good's happening, man. Everybody wake up. And the other glands, okay, whoa, this is kind of cool. I only used to get this from coffee and then feel drained the day, hours later. It's like the glands all wake up. The cells start to sing hallelujah. They start to praise. Hosanna in the highest. Every cell starts to do this. There's even what some people call the fascia. This subtle layer of connective tissue. Let's call it. But that tissue, if you ever seen those old, maybe more in the 70s, those light filament types of decor for the house. You actually set something and there's little strands of plastic that go out to the end and the tips are glowing. That happens in the fascia. There's light that goes through the fascia and they can't see it yet, but the whole thing lights up. It's like a layer, a thin band of light that connects everything. But it doesn't usually look like light because it's dead. The tissues are barely alive anymore in us because we're barely alive. And you're not alive because you're not conscious. And we're not conscious because we're still afraid. We're still judgmental. We're still deflated. So we're here, but we're dying. And you can't justify life or death, and this dying process of our tissue as being just a natural thing. They tell you have menopause. What it means is I have no idea. You know what we think you have? Your menopause. You're like, I'm 12. Oh, there's a pre-menopause. They're just going to give you a new name for it because they have no idea. Because they don't know how to understand the glands. Instead, the physician, the healers could look at you and say, you know what's happening? A lot of stuff has accumulated in your glands, and your glands, they don't know what to do with it. So somebody else is calling it menopause, but your glands are simply, they've accumulated too much of something. Stress in the adrenals, yeah, that's the obvious. But there's emotion, there's hurt feelings. Your backache, oh, it's just your age. That's. I know it sounds logical, but it's not true. The real us is not capable of aging and just happen to have an old ache or whatever it happens to be. It's tiredness. And it's tiredness from being judged and judging others. It's tiredness from trying to hold up the world that collapses around us. God, everything's, in this world is heavy. Every solution has more problems that it brings. So what are we going to do? It's just heavy. I'll just keep trying to hold it up. And we do what we think we need to do. You need to be strong for the kids. You need to do whatever. My, constant touring and sleeping in airports and all that. It was fine, and I'm okay. I just do what I need to do to be, as good as I can be as a person. But at the same time, man, there's just so much to do. And there's only one person can only really take so much. So we have to really just take a breather and recenter and rejuvenate, not on coffee, but with something else. So I'm closing with this, in that one of the most important things, if you want to wake up, if you want, don't say I got to go sit under a banyan tree forever. Just one of the most important things, simplest things, start asking questions. Start questioning life and the realities of this world. Start questioning the ego and the apparent control it has. Do I really, so I have this illness. Is that true? And is that really it? Question it. Question everything. Well, they say it's age and now it's too late. Question it. Question everything. When Jesus says, come and see. He used to say, come and see. The meaning of that, when he tells his apostles, well, come and see. It meant, check it out for yourself. See if this is true for you. Buddha says, don't believe anything just because you heard it, even because your teachers tell it to you. It's true or it isn't. Don't say, okay, well, it's true because an author told me. Make sure it feels right. It's an odd thing as a teacher for me, because I don't really push a thing. I don't say, you have to do this meditation. I don't care what meditation you do. If it works, it works. Oh no, that system's meditation isn't good. You have to do mine, and let me sell it to you. Whatever works. I don't push diets. I just encourage awakening. But I don't push too much. I don't preach and try to convert. Come and see. And Buddha's saying, make sure it works for you. Make sure you can live it, feel it, and integrate it into your life. And I think that's what it partly means by, when you start to get wise, you say less. Now, when you're a teacher, you have to speak, you speak. But you start to see through things the more you wake up. So question things. Jesus says, that's what I meant. In A Course in Miracles, he says, that's what I meant in the Bible when I say you must be as children. One of the meanings is learn to ask questions like a child would. Why is that? Mom, what's wrong? Well, Mommy's not doing well. Why? Because the doctor said I'm dying. Why? It's like the Adam and Eve in the garden. God says, where are you? We're hiding. Why? Think about it. Even God. Why? Why is that? Because when you say why, you can pull things to the light and see if they're true or not. So God was saying to Adam and Eve, what makes you think you're naked and that you need to hide? Oh, well, the serpent told us we're naked and we're shameful. Oh, that! Why are you listening to him? Why would you listen to the opinions just like us? Well, I'm not doing very well. My parents said I would never amount to much. Why would you listen to them? Clearly they're not sane. There's another option. What's the other option? How about God? God, I've been told all my life I won't amount to anything. I was told that my gender can't, My race can't. That's what I was told. And I'm starting to realize it's ridiculous. Why don't you show me what I'm capable of doing or being? And any human being, every single human being can be everything in any instant. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty incredible. But you can't do that of ourselves. Our own mind can't get us to that place. So it takes something else entirely. So we learn to ask questions. One of them is, what is this for? I'm getting a new job. Should I take that job? It depends. What would you like? I need money, and that pays well? Then apparently that's a good job for you. But you haven't asked what you wanted, other than money maybe. Should I do this relationship? What do you want? I want to not grow old. Oh, well, then anybody will do. Go ahead. Good idea. That's my advice. See what I'm saying? You're supposed to ask also what you want to come from any situation. What is the outcome I want from this? Should I do this drug? Should I take this medicine? It depends what you want to come from this. You would like to ease that and create some new symptoms? Perfect. That's the one. That's what we do, guys. We don't ask. What do you want to come from this? I would like to be healthier. Then is this food good for you? If it's nutritious and you want to be healthier, maybe that's the right diet for you. Don't do things because somebody told you you have to or you'll die. Don't do it because you're afraid. Do you want to be afraid? Well, then listening to advice that's fear-based is a good idea. It matches. What do you want? Just ask yourself constantly, what do I want to come from this? It's, even Archangel Michael encourages people. Why? Why is that? Why do you want this? You'll see in various channelings this concept of what is it you think you're wanting from this situation? So if we look at our lives, I will say this. If we were to assess our lives and the biggest mistakes or hardships we've ever had, would almost always be founded on us not really looking the end result of something we made a decision of. We didn't look at the big picture, what we were getting into. We were feeling desperate. We were feeling a little stressed about something, so it felt good at the time, or right at the time. But it probably didn't end well. In other words, most of our hardships have come from our not taking responsibility and looking at the end result. So something as simple as asking ourselves questions. Conscious people, we ask, I wonder what that's about. What am I feeling? Why is that? Be as a child. Why is that? Okay? Why? And what would be the result of my decision here? Let's take a few centering breaths, please. Shaking off the stuff of life and the world. Absorbing the idea of asking spiritual questions. Buddha, Jesus, all these great teachers have said, ask questions. If you want to wake up, learn to ask questions. Question the stuff of the world. I'm not saying hate the world. I'm just saying question it. Is it right for me? You hear a voice in your head, just ask. This voice is telling me I shouldn't do something. Does it sound like God or does it not? Does it sound like love? Learn to ask. Weigh things. Does that seem like love? Asking. Picture just question marks for a moment in your head. A positive question marks. Question marks made of light. Is this right for me? Good, healthy questions. You hear gossip. You can say to yourself, is this thing I'm hearing, is it absolutely true? Is it loving? And is it necessary? Before I pass that gossip on. And be able to call people on it. Excuse me, but I'm not sure if that feels exactly true, but even if it were, it doesn't sound loving. And even if it were, is it necessary? Just learn to call the world on stuff. Knowing full well that the ego does not like to be or to have its dictates questioned. Because they're hateful. They're hurtful. So we tune out all that stuff of the world. Who am I really? We go into that question where we started. Who am I really? So we start off with your identity, your name. We start off with your position in life. I'm a this and I'm a that. Those are titles. They're not who you really are. And just for half a minute, keep tracking that in. Who am I? A mom, a dad, a male or female, single, partnered, whatever it is. Who am I? And then be courageous enough while you're doing that. Look at your life for a moment and ask yourself, are there any decisions I make in my life on a day-to-day basis that are based upon my identities? Do I make decisions based on my licensing? Do I make decisions based on my gender or my race? It does happen, even if it seems like it's well intended. Do I make decisions based on past life compulsions? Do I make decisions based on ailments I'm told I have? Religion, family upbringing, genetics, and just take it a little further. Keep going with it. My day-to-day decisions are based on what? Being a great employee, being on time, doing and doing and doing and doing. And take a look at that. And what if, on the other hand, I am a holy child of God and I shift into being instead of doing? Now just try that one on for a moment. What if my identity is actually a perfect and holy child of God? How would it change? As practical a form as possible, look at your life. How would it change what you do? So the doing comes from being instead of by not being. Let's look at our lives for just another minute. How would my life be different if I truly am a holy child of God? And then let's quietly commit to that. Why not? More of the being. Let's, on a practical level, let's see ourselves committing to going to healers that actually know what's going on a bit more and tune into us properly. We don't put an expectation on them to do and compensate. We're choosing to be in a really beautiful space and attracting good healers, whether they're physicians, body workers, or whatever. Being. Holy children of God, how would that affect what shows I watch? How I parent? How often I hold center through challenging moments? How does it change me financially? And make a commitment to that. More giving, sharing, everything, greater ease. Be courageous with it. See yourself giving, paying people's tabs, at a restaurant. See yourself doing these things. Like, God, I'm actually unlimited. This stuff actually works. The more I share and I pay some person's bill in the grocery line, I walked out and I find $50 on the floor. It always comes back to me. It's incredible. Giving and giving and giving and giving. Hear that strongly inside. My cup runneth over. We're heading there, guys. Fascia, cells, neurons starting to glow. This is the direction we're going. If we choose to be conscious and awake. Question the unconscious. Question the darkness of the world. Question it, because it's not real. Question it. Question yourself for choosing it. And every time we do, more light enters our cells. Our chakras, light, glowing. Our glands, alive. No needs, per se, certainly out of control. Let's see ourselves embracing each other. People hugging each other, just from love, not need. By saying not need, I mean no attachments to it. Hugging because we can afford to hug and love people and smile. And the last couple centering breaths as we gradually integrate this and stretch. Bless you. As we stretch. Take your time. I pray that you heard this with more than your ears and head. But let it soak in, please. Being conscious and awake. Question the world that isn't awake. All right?